Welcome to another edition of Walton Entertainment. Today we'll have more news, information, and entertainment from your local hometown.
Forward, march.
How about a round of applause for our You may be seated. Once again, we welcome you. We thank you for taking your time out of this holiday weekend to be here too. Our band is under the direction of Joyce King. Let's give her a round of applause. And of course, this is a Memorial Day concert. Today, through words and music, we're remembering those who gave the ultimate sacrifice and lost their lives fighting for our great country. But we also want to honor those with us today that either served in the military or those that had family members that served. We have a few veterans in our band. We'd like to remember one that passed away last December, Roger Chrisman, in his empty chair and flag. Roger was a veteran as well, so he's being remembered. We have a few others in our band. One is Joe Upchurch. Joe actually isn't serving yet because he's still in high school, but he has a sister and a brother that are currently serving in the Army. So remember Julia Miller and Hunter Miller. Also Barry King, our baritone player, is a former Army veteran, served from 1976 to 1983. Did I miss anyone? Well, other than this guy here in uniform, I mean. So I would like to introduce Robert DeVere. He's retired as a first sergeant after 33 years of service in the Army Field Band. So we're going to start off with the Marches of the Armed Forces. Now this is a medley that of course features the official songs for all 5 branches of the service. So when you hear your song played, or again if you had somebody in the military that served, please stand to recognize them as we play Marches of the Armed Forces.
Up. 2, 1, 2.
see all of you out there standing today, and thank you for your service. Well, the first observance of Memorial Day dates back to 1868, then known as Decoration Day. And New York was the first state to recognize it as a state holiday in 1870, and by 1890, every Union state had adopted it. Memorial Day, as we all know, most of you anyway, didn't actually become a federal holiday until 1971, but had still been celebrated. Many have fought, many have died, so we could live as free people in this amazing country that we have the privilege of living in. This next song has been called an expression of patriotism at its finest, as it conveys an attitude of appreciation and gratitude for the nation's extraordinary physical beauty and abundance. And we get to enjoy it every day right here in North Georgia. Please enjoy America the Beautiful. Starting in 1898 at the United States Military Academy at West Point, there were 3 words that all cadets were taught. Those words are duty, honor, and country. And that has been their motto until this year, when it was actually changed to a much longer mission statement, as things tend to change. It's a phrase that's been a reminder to all that pass through West Point to defend the country with honor and duty. General Douglas MacArthur gave a famous speech to cadets based on those 3 words back in 1962. In 2009, the Army Field Band released a recording that featured narration based on that speech by General Norman Schwarzkopf. Many of us remember him as the commander that led the coalition forces back in the Gulf War. That recording is on YouTube, and I urge you to check it out. It's pretty amazing. We're going to play that song now as we remember those who fought and died for our country and heard those 3 words over and over. Duty, honor, country. of conduct and chivalry to those who guard this beloved land. An ideal so noble that it arouses a sense of pride and humility. An expression of the ethics of the American man at arms.
Seems to be little cause for faith. Create hope when hope seems forlorn. The American man at arms, above all other people, prays for peace, for he must suffer and bear the deepest wounds and scars of war. Unbelievers will say they are but words, a slogan, or a flamboyant phrase. Every demagogue, every cynic, and every hypocrite will try to downgrade them to the extent of mockery and ridicule. The code which those words perpetuate embraces the highest moral law and will stand the test of any ethics or philosophies ever published for the uplift of mankind. Around 1,000 campfires, on 100 battlefields, listening for the witching melody of faint bugles blowing reveille, far-off drums beating the long roll. This is the story of the American man at arms. His name and fame are the birthright of every American citizen. In his youth and strength, his love and loyalty, he gave all that mortality can give. He has never failed us, were he to do so. A million ghosts in olive drab, in brown khaki, in blue and gray, would rise from their white crosses, thundering those magic words: duty, honor, country. Go back in time a little bit, and as the old saying goes, there was nothing civil about the American Civil War. Brothers fought brothers, friends fought friends, and from 1861 to 1865, over 620,000 soldiers lost their lives. 1/3 of those deaths were due to disease after getting sick or wounded. Many of those battles happened right around us here in Georgia, and I'm sure many of you had ancestors that were in that war on one side or the other. This next piece plays tribute to this important chapter in our history and features many memorable songs that I'm sure you'll recognize. We hope you enjoy Civil War Reflections.
pause the music to hear a few words from today's guest speaker. Now, for many of you, Winder Mayor Jimmy Terrell needs no introduction, but for the rest of you, here goes. Jimmy served Winder and Barrow County over the years in many ways. He was a chief investigator at the Barrow County Sheriff's Office from 1975 to 1979, the police chief of Winder from 1980 to 1993, growing the department from 14 to 38 personnel. He was also named the Outstanding Georgia Police Officer in 1987. He's been awarded Citizen of the Year back in 2010 by the Barrow County Chamber of Commerce. Jimmy is a veteran. He was a sergeant major in the U.S. Army Reserves. And I asked Mayor Jimmy Terrell here today so he could tell us what Memorial Day means to him. So please give a round of applause to Winder Mayor Jimmy Terrell.
Special thanks to all of you for being here today and for your participation in a ceremony like this. It's very special. Winder did not have a ceremony this year, but we will have one next year. We're going to move it to the cemetery, and we'll have another one. First, let me tell you, I am not a combat veteran. I'm a Cold War warrior. I joined early on. Mother didn't want me to, and I slipped out of LaGrange one day and went to Columbus and joined the Army Reserves because 3 of my buddies had joined the Special Forces, and they came home one weekend. I liked them in uniform. And I found out there was a Special Forces Reserve unit just starting in Columbus, all the veterans coming back from Vietnam. And those of you that knew my wife Ellen, you wouldn't believe it, but she slipped down there with me. She was only a junior in high school, so, but I had to get in uniform. But I was a Cold War veteran for 19 years. I studied the Russians, and we just knew we were going to fight the Russians. I never learned the language, but I did learn the tactics. I'm humbled and honored to be here today, and I thank you for your efforts to honor all the men and women throughout our history who have worn a uniform and given their lives for this country. Your effort to keep history alive and going. The service today is a moment for remembrance and gratitude. Sometimes we confuse our services for veterans and for military personnel. But today is a service for memory. I do better without this. It's especially for those who have paid the supreme price and ultimate price and given their lives for our country. Because of our armed forces, we stand here today enjoying more freedom than any country in the world. During my career, I had an opportunity to serve in various countries in Europe and to train with their help. And even countries that we think of as being democratic, a lot of those countries do not enjoy the freedoms that we enjoy here. Americans have always answered the call to arms when our country has needed soldiers. They volunteered and rallied by the millions from all walks of life, all ages, brought together for the common purpose of defending freedom. We were at the North Bridge, Bunker Hill, Valley Forge, Antietam, and Gettysburg. We marched across the Mediterranean and into Europe in World War I. We returned to Europe to fight again in World War II. We landed at Normandy, climbed Point du Hoc, and pushed the Germans back into Germany. After Pearl Harbor, we fought our way across the Pacific, island to island, some of the most horrific fighting in the world has seen. A few years later, we were at the Chosin Reservoir in Pork Chop Hill. Hamburger was another war. We served in Vietnam and then clandestinely fought a Cold War with Russia around the world. Today our soldiers are fighting in Iraq, Syria, and on other fronts in the Mideast and in Africa. With all of our wars and fighting, we have never taken land from a country that we defeated or from a country that we were allied with. We've asked for land and it's been given to us, and our cemeteries are a pathway around the world. If you ever have a chance to go to Europe and visit one of the American cemeteries, you will do so with a knot in your throat, and you'll be in awe of the people that still remember what America did in World War II. We must not forget others who have died in the service of the country other than in combat. Many died in the Cold War, and those who died in incidents officially identified as training accidents. But they will receive no medals, there are no records, but we know better. We lost a lot of people in the Cold War. More than 40 million servicemen have served in our armed forces since the Civil War. Only 3,535 have received the Medal of Honor. And I'd like to just point out 5 of them to you today, briefly. Roy Benavides, first 4 Special Forces soldiers, and I personally knew 2 of them. In May of 1968, a 12-man A-team with 9 tribesmen was attacked in Vietnam. They called for help. Benavides was a medic, Special Forces medic, and he was back at the airfield. When the call came in, he grabbed his medical kit and a knife and ran to a helicopter to help with the rescue. No weapon, no rifle, didn't have time to grab one. He is credited with saving 8 lives on the ground. There, upon disembarking from the helicopter, he was attacked and stabbed by a North Vietnamese soldier. He then drew his knife and killed the enemy. He picked up an enemy's weapon and killed 2 more enemy soldiers while providing cover fire for those who were helping load the injured into the helicopter. After collapsing, he was placed on a helicopter and carried back to the base camp. He was laying there on the helicopter pad, and the doctor pronounced him dead. They put him in a bag and started zipping it up when he spit in the doctor's face. He survived. He was brought back to the United States. He had 37 separate bullet and shrapnel wounds from a 6-hour fight, and he was awarded the Medal of Honor. Sergeant First Class Benny Atkins from Alabama was assigned to a camp in South Vietnam that was attacked by an overwhelming force. He took charge of the camp's defenses and air resupply with necessary ammunition and water and food landed outside the perimeter of the camp. He single-handedly went out, retrieved the package, and brought it back into the base under fire. The battle lasted 38 hours, and the remaining survivors managed to slip out and spent 2 more days running from the North Vietnamese in pursuit until they were finally found by American forces in helicopters and picked up and transferred back to base. It's estimated, and this is from his Medal of Honor recognition, it's estimated that Sergeant First Class Atkins killed between 135 and 175 enemy soldiers alone while sustaining 18 different wounds to his body. Lieutenant Robert Howard, who has surpassed Army Murphy as being the most decorated soldier in the United States military. Lieutenant Howard was on a mission to rescue a missing American soldier with a platoon. They were ambushed by 300 to 400 enemy soldiers. Howard was wounded and his weapon was destroyed by a grenade. He was unable to walk, and without a weapon, he crawled out to drag the lieutenant, the wounded lieutenant, to cover. He then crawled around the perimeter that they had established and directed the remaining firefighting. The fight lasted 3.5 hours until reinforcements reached him. He refused to get on the helicopter until all of the wounded soldiers that he went in with were extracted. He was the last one out. This was his third nomination for the Medal of Honor, and this one was awarded. John Caviani, who I knew and worked with, was in charge of a radio site in enemy territory when it was attacked on June 4th and 5th, 1971. During the evacuation, John directed helicopters until they were forced to leave as a result of enemy fire. John continuously exposed himself to enemy fire. John was wounded numerous times and covered the remaining team members as they finally escaped in darkness to the jungle. John was later captured, tortured, and served 23 months as a POW in North Vietnam. John was awarded the Medal of Honor for actions that resulted in his men escaping safely. Those are one last one from the Iraq War. Sergeant First Class Alwyn Cash distinguished himself by acts of gallantry above and beyond the call of duty while serving as a platoon leader on mounted patrol. The patrol was attacked by the enemy. The vehicle in which they were riding, Bradley fighting vehicle, was hit by an improvised explosion and small arms fire. Once he was able to get out of the Bradley, the driver couldn't get out. He was trapped. The vehicle was on fire. He went around to the driver's side, went through the hatch, and was able to extract the driver from the vehicle. The driver's clothes were on fire. He helped extinguish the fire. Fuel from the vehicle got on his uniform. It caught fire. And after pulling the driver to the rear of the vehicle, he ran to the back, realizing that 6 of his people had not gotten out. He went in, helped 4 get out, then realized that there was still 2 trapped in there. Suffering 2nd and 3rd degree burns, he re-entered the vehicle and pulled out the last 2 men. Sergeant Cash died at the hospital in Germany after being extracted from the country. Those are the kind of people that you serve with. They're all heroes, brave men and women, and we should be proud of our soldiers and especially those who have given their life. I've had the opportunity to participate in about 12 military funerals, and some of the most humbling words are the last words spoken at the end of the funeral. On behalf of the President of the United States and a grateful nation, please accept this flag as a symbol of our appreciation for your loved ones' honorable and faithful service. Those are big words for big people. In closing, let me just say that Monday will be a day of gratitude, showing appreciation and honor to those whom have served and given their lives in the service to our country. We gather today to honor all members of the armed forces, the Army, the Navy, the Marines, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, the National Guard, and the Army Reserves. They make up one brotherhood under one flag, each individual is an individual thread in the fabric of this great country. Duty, honor, country. Duty, honor, country. Thank you, and may God bless America.
Thank you, Mayor Terrell. Well, there aren't many World War II veterans with us anymore, but they fought in the deadliest and most destructive war in world history. It started in 1939, ended in 1945, and in those 6 years, over 407,000 U.S. soldiers lost their lives, another 671,000 wounded. There have been many war movies put out by Hollywood. Many of those World War II movies are classics. They're still played today on a cable channel near you. You're about to hear some music from a few of those movies. The Longest Day, featuring one of my favorites, John Wayne, The Great Escape, and Patton. Those are the three movies that we'll be playing music from as we play Marching Through World War II. continue our Memorial Day tribute, we'll once again go back to the 1800s, to the American Civil War. More than 3 million men and boys fought in the war between the states. And in a 2-day battle alone at Shiloh on the banks of the Tennessee River, more Americans died than in all previous wars combined. Georgia sent nearly 100,000 men to battle for the Confederacy, mostly to the Virginian armies, but you may not know that in North Georgia, many Southerners remained loyal to the Union. Here's some more music from that era as we play Voices from the Battlefield. this next selection is from the highly acclaimed Broadway play and also movie, Les Miserables. You might be thinking to yourself, what's that have to do with Memorial Day? Well, the song is actually a setting from the anguished prayer in Les Miserables, and is a poignant expression of the romance and turmoil that accompanies all wars. The song is a reminder of those left behind in terms that we're thinking about today with our veterans and our those that have passed away in service to our country. Also think about the people missing in action still. So the mothers, the wives, the sisters, the fathers, the brothers and children, all saying their prayers to bring him home. 1998 Steven Spielberg movie, Saving Private Ryan, is considered to be one of the greatest films ever made. Its battle scenes were considered to be the most warlike ever filmed. And the scene on Omaha Beach alone took over 4 weeks to film, used over 1,500 extras, and only cost $12 million for that one scene. The movie is about the search to find an Army private whose three brothers have already been killed while fighting in World War II. And Steven Spielberg chose this song to play during the closing credits of the movie because he said it will stand the test of time and honor forever the fallen of this war and possibly all wars. Something to think about as we play for you Hymn to the Fallen.
Good morning. My name is Stan Malden, and I'm one of the co-founders of Ride for America. Ride for America is 26 years old today, and we're extremely proud of that. Not many events are able to last that long, so I don't mind bragging on it a little bit because it's just fantastic that we've been able to make it that long, and by making it that long, we're able to help more and more veterans. None of the people that are co-founders or founders of this thing actually take any of the funds that we raise, any of the money. So we do the best that we can in distributing that money, and it goes toward, again, veterans and veterans causes, their families, that sort of thing. We go to Millersville, Georgia War Veterans Home 2 times a year, and we are proud that we are able to do that. But we've even saved veterans' homes that were going to be taken from them because they come home and was discharged out of the military and still were service connected but was not receiving any monies yet. So we're able to save veterans' homes in that case. We're able to do a lot of different things, and I won't bore you with all the things we're able to do with it, but we're extremely happy. I know today we have a rainy day, but yet we still got probably 300-400 bikes out there, and they're itching to go, and we want to make sure that we get them there safe and back. The Walton County and Morgan County Sheriff's Department helped us get there safe and back, and then every city that we go through has city representatives where we never stop. Once we leave, we never stop, and we're proud of the safety officers that we have, and we're proud of the police departments also. So we just can't tell the people that help us and join in on rides. If it wasn't raining today, I feel sure that we'd have well over 1,000 motorcycles, and that would be the second biggest crowd in the whole United States. Rolling Thunder up in Washington outdoes us every year, and we're proud that they do because they do a lot of good things too. But we are strong here in the South and the biggest ride in the whole Southeast. Again, Gary Lemons and myself co-founded this event. Gary's passed away, and we're remembering this fellow named Jim Neesmith on this ride because Jim passed away last year right after Ride for America, and Jim always handles the ceremony down in Madison where we go. So his wife is here today, and we're letting her ride in the parade, and we're going to honor Jim down there. And so we do a lot of good things, and I thank you for listening to me ramble on, and please continue to come out and support this event because we're so proud of it. Thank you.
We are downtown Monroe, and this is May the 27th, Memorial Day, and Ride America is coming downtown Monroe. They left Loganville about 20 minutes ago, and now they're going to be arriving downtown Monroe. Then they will go to Social Circle and then on to Madison for a presentation in Madison. And as you can see in the distance, there are the motorcycles. It's a rainy day in Monroe and Social Circle, but the rain is letting up a little bit, but you can see the riders are happy and there's a bunch of them.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me.
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.